Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Carriage here, Chair of the Midlands branch. You've got my picture now. Good. We're going to talk a bit about what we've done in the past and how we are at the present in dealing with the COVID crisis, and a little bit of a look into the future and what we hope to be doing once we can start gathering and so forth. So next slide, please. Right, a Midlands branch has typically, for a regional branch, focused quite heavily on site visits. And really, we have such a wealth of opportunities for places to visit in the Midlands. Very much remember that our visit to Starkey's Fruit Farm, that's the home of the Bramley apple. But obviously now, apart from selling and growing apples, they have diversified into other areas as well. We also visited larger companies like Ornua, and a visit to a sector that we see as sometimes as a bit to the side of the food industry, but packaging. Fascinating visit to Clifton Packaging in Leicester, an area that I knew very little about and came out very much enriched by that visit. We even hold some meetings, and we had a great meeting at Nottingham Trent on food authenticity and traceability, which worked out very well, and we have plans for more of those in the future. So our past activities, as I said, have covered site visits and are likely to continue with that. Next slide, please. When we look at what we have in the Midlands, and we have a look at what our members and committee members have experience of, we thought that the best way to represent this was as a picnic. So we gathered all the products that our committee members had been involved with. And as you can see, it makes for a pretty good picnic out of all the products that are there, covering almost every food sector type, and savory, sweet, and drinks. So we have strong strength of experience and knowledge in the Midlands Committee. Next slide, please. And here's another way of representing what we have in terms of our membership of our committee. We have representation from some well-known global food brands there, as well as centres of university and academia, represented by the logos on the right. And then there are some which sort of cross over. Eurofins is definitely one, which is serving both sides of this pie chart, and the Food Innovation Centre at Nottingham is also bridging that gap. So we have links, and sorry, I'm missing out a link that we are forging at the moment after a call last week with Aston University, also in the Birmingham area. Next slide, please. And who are these people, and what are their backgrounds? And as you can see, here's a selection from our committee. The committee is much larger in numbers than this, but we normally get probably a dozen on our almost monthly or 2 monthly calls during lockdown. And we have representation there from pet food, laboratories, microbiology, food safety, sensory, and product development, and so forth. So a raft of experience, a range of ages. I haven't asked, unlike Bob, what the range of ages are, and as you can see, we've got a pretty good representation there. So next slide, please. So what are we looking at for the future? Well, we want to further develop links with academic and food institutions in the region. We realise that we are a little bit light, and I say that not just from a Midlands point of view, but I think from an IFST point of view, with the exception of the centre at Cardiff. We're a bit light in terms of our representation in Wales. We all know about the sort of North Wales corridor around Wrexham and going across Flint, etc. We don't have any representation there, and we're also looking at the representation in Ceredigion and on Anglesey there. Just up the road from us in the Midlands, if you like, from Nottingham, etc., is Welbeck School of Artisan Food. So we're looking at whether we can do something there, whether it be a site visit, whether it be something remotely. We think there's things that can be done there. We were going to host together with the sustainability group and put together, and regulatory SIG, put together a food waste event in the middle of this year, of last year, but clearly that didn't happen. And those of you who have been watching our webinars, which have sort of filled the gap in the meantime, with I think one more to come on packaging waste. We are still hoping to be able to host a live event, whether it be this year or next year, to bring that together. We had some technical visits lined up, and we'll pick them up once we can do site visits, whether they be to Pladis, which is just up the road from me in Leicester, Militech, which is more over towards Nottingham Derby area, and obviously Harper Adams is within our area, and they've got some fascinating stuff going on with the hands-free hectare and further developments there, as well as the Saputo Innovation Centre. Next slide, please. So that brings us to the end, and thanks very much for staying along over your lunch breaks, and I'll hand you back to Alistair.